Well, garlic is what we would refer to as a heavy feeding crop. It pulls a lot of nutrients. So you can think of garlic, and it's something that stores for a while. It has a lot of nutrition packed into one small package. Compare that to a zucchini, which is also a heavy feeder, but it's mostly water. Garlic is medicinal. So it's pulling all these minerals and organic matter and water into this package. And where's that coming from? Well, obviously part of it's coming from photosynthesis, the sun, but a lot of it's coming from the soil. So if you don't nourish your soil, you're going to have small garlic and it's going to struggle. So having healthy, living soil that's high in organic matter is key to having beautiful, large garlic. We just harvested an amazing crop of garlic. And garlic is what's called a heavy feeding crop. And before we planted that garlic in the fall, we put down a bunch of compost and prepared our beds. And when you consider the reciprocal wheel of the year with gardening, you basically get what you put in. So if you want to nourish your soil, you'll get abundant yields. And one of the best ways to do that, when you are able to time it just right, is to grow a cover crop, which is purely just giving back to the soil. So right here, I'm holding in my hand, this is buckwheat seed. And buckwheat is a great summer cover crop. It's not frost resistant, and it's just coming up here. So you can see this. This will grow to about 3 feet tall and produce an abundance of these white flowers that attracts pollinators. It produces nectar that feeds bees and other insects. And then when it's at peak flower, before it goes to seed, we will mow and incorporate this into the soil. And we're building organic matter. And part of what you do when you're building organic matter is you're providing the food for the microbes in the soil. And those are your real allies. And we're also covering the soil, which helps the microbes do their job because they don't want to be burned out by the hot sun. So you can imagine when this is waist high here, which it will be soon, and we'll go look at another area where the buckwheat cover crop is already a bit higher that I planted about a month ago. And part of the beauty of buckwheat is it's only about 45 days from planting a seed, this little seed, to having something that's 3 feet tall. So it's really quick, and it's one way that you can be growing soil and organic matter where you are to prepare yourself for abundance in the future. And that's what we always want to be doing, is intending and doing the actions and the prayer for future abundance in our gardens. And cover cropping, pretty much you want to be doing it anytime you can. So here, come with me, and we're going to look at an area. So this we harvested about 2 weeks ago. So we had an opportunity to already till it under and plant buckwheat. Over here we have a later garlic that we just harvested. And so even though you can't see it, I just watered this. Buckwheat will be coming up here soon to nourish that soil. So you can see over here is another area where we're growing garlic, and you can see all the buckwheat coming in. And it's a really beautiful succulent cover crop. We actually sell seed of buckwheat. Another one you can incorporate in here that I did, it's harder to see, is I planted Sudan grass. And Sudan grass is related to broomcorn, milo, and it's basically a relative of corn, and it's a grass. So again, its roots and its tops grow organic matter that help feed the microbes and the mycelium of the soil, so that we always want to be building organic matter more and more, so that basically the microbes are nourishing the soil. Because good organic soil, if you really think about it, is part the mineral, rocks and just the pure mineral element, but organic matter that includes plant roots, the decomposing tops of plants, but also basically the bodies and the feces of all these small insects that you can't even see, that are springtails and earthworms and any matter of organisms that are in the soil. And the energy source for all of them is the sun and organic matter. Those are what conjoin. So that's what we're doing here with buckwheat. And I can't overstate how important that is. Plus, you know, you're feeding the whole of nature through providing, you know, flowers and for beneficial insects. So here, let's come up here and let's look at an area where I'm growing some giant pumpkins. And I knew I wanted to be growing a living mulch. So here's another term to consider, is the idea that when you have an area where the plants start small, but then they get big, eventually, use that space to your advantage. So right here, you can see in here, I've got these giant pumpkins. It doesn't look like much right now. It's only July 5th. That guy might become 500 to 1,000 pounds. But you can see in here, I've got buckwheat and Sudan grass. See how this looks like corn, but it's not. And here's the buckwheat. It's just starting to flower. So I'm growing this organic matter. And if you look through here, because these pumpkins are going to get huge, and they'll spread out over here. So eventually I'll probably come in and weed whack all this buckwheat and stuff down, and it'll serve as mulch. So just in case you don't believe me, check this out. You know, so when you consider the roots of a plant, so here's one of these Sudan grasses, we tend to think of this, but what I just tore out, you know, so we've got small roots you can see, but a plant like this has root hairs that are only 1 cell wide, and it might have hundreds of miles of root hairs threading throughout here. So this is, a lot of times when we talk about organic matter, we think about this part, but really the root biomass is probably 10 times what you see on top. And that's really what we're doing. And the beauty of the tops is that it's shading it and sheltering the soil so that it's more moist, because pretty much all the microbiome wants moisture and, you know, to be protected from the drying rays of the sun. So here's just a little trick I'm doing in here, because you can imagine this pumpkin plant. This is Dill's Atlantic Giant. You can see what's small now that will become huge. I broke off some because I only want one per vine. Eventually they'll cover this whole area. So I wanted to be doing something with the soil in the interim. So here's another a way to approach that kind of thinking and grow your living mulch right where you are. So just always be, anytime you can be growing a cover crop and building your soil organic matter, it'll benefit you and your crop yields and your abundance and the fulfillment you experience gardening in the future. So buckwheat and Sudan grass, but also a plant called Phacelia, which I don't have growing here now, but we do sell seed of that. That's a really beautiful lavender purple summer cover crop that you can be growing. And then once we move into fall, check out, we'll link our fall cover crop video of plants that you can plant in September, October, November to nourish your soil and protect your soil from the winter rains over the winter to grow organic matter for the future. So understanding that idea of that rhythm, you know, it's just kind of like, imagine by analogy a band that you go see live. They play for a little while, they end the song, there's a pause, we applause, we appreciate it, there's a pause. And so the pause in organic farming, gardening, is growing cover crops. And that gives us the space to move into the next song, to the next phase. So just consider how you can integrate this into your garden, and check out our other video that has a little more hands-on about how you do that. And check out the links below about where you get cover crop seed and grow organic matter.